You are on the rooftop of Shifa Hospital in Mosul, Iraq. Built in the 30s, Al-Shifa used to be Iraq's second most modern hospital. Because of the strategic vantage point it offers over the city, during the final stage of the battle for Mosul, ISIL used it as its headquarters. It took a lot of incoming fire, artillery shells, and airdrop demolition, as did the rest of the old city.
While Iraq has gone through multiple periods of instability since its founding, in the last 16 years, the country has experienced especially bloody cycles of violence. But the country is now on the difficult road to recovery, facing multiple challenges and grappling with the trauma of war. This is the story of how the UN mission and country team are working together with Iraqis to help them rebuild their country.
Over and above all else, the story of Iraq is one of resilience in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Many parts of the country, despite being surrounded by salient reminders of the recent violence, are now filled with life and activity. In many instances, the return to normalcy and perhaps even an improvement on the past is being led by women.
With UNAMI's support, here, female members of parliament inside Iraq's Council of Representatives are debating a bill on combating domestic violence. This is one part of an effort to build frameworks in line with international standards to prevent sexual and gender-based violence and to hold perpetrators accountable. Crucial to protecting the rights of self-identified female Iraqis and other underrepresented communities is making sure they turn out at the ballot box. UNAMI is working with community leaders and the Electoral Commission on campaigns that remind Iraqis of their right to vote and the need to register as voters.
Elections, largest scale conflict prevention exercise. We must maintain elections as the priority. It's not a democracy in itself. Election is a step, and these steps has to be repeated so many times. Iraq will not become a democracy overnight. It's a whole process of learning about the roles, responsibility, and balancing the rights at the same time.
But to get people politically engaged in shaping the future of their country across identity fault lines, we need to rebuild bridges where different communities have lived together for a long time. At a local level, people need to feel that they have a seat at the table in deciding how Iraq gets rebuilt, both materially and symbolically. In the last 20 years, cultural heritage, monuments, and sites that host diverse communities have become a direct target in conflict.
As one can see around us, the fabric of the old city is, of a deeply historic character and quite beautiful and, stunning in many ways. And the idea or the drive of this, again, reviving the spirit is, in a way, to try and retain the character that was there. Of course, much is lost. There's no doubt about that. But much of that character remains in the streets, in the housing, in the monuments, all around us. And trying to retain that, I think, should be it's one of the highest priorities. Why? Because to me, after you've destroyed, a city has been destroyed like this one has, to take away that historic fabric further, to demolish it, to get rid of it, is to compound, in fact, the destruction that has already taken place.
From the reconstruction of houses to the rehabilitation of schools and hospitals, all of these are crucial elements to restoring lives that were disrupted over the course of the conflict. UNDP has taken the lead in many of these activities. Their underlying goal is to enable Iraqis to have confidence in the government structures that are providing these services. And in the case of the city of Mosul, A central element to all of the above has been Mosul University.
From the very first day of the liberation from ISIL, we knew that Mosul University was the key to the return of normal life in Mosul. When the university reopened its doors, 40,000 students came back to study. The campaign to rebuild the university has also generated important jobs in the city of Mosul. In truth, the university continues to need a lot of support. We still have many buildings that are in destroyed state.
A lot of work remains to be done. Many places are still not safe to return to because of mines, unexploded remnants of war, and booby traps.
It's estimated that there is 7.6 million tons of debris in Mosul only. In Al-Shifa, we've done something called high-risk search, which is basically visually searching inch by inch. The unsung heroes here are the Iraqis. The international staff provides technical advice, but the actual workers who's carrying out this highly dangerous work are Iraqis.
Put together, all these factors make for a challenging security environment for both UNAMI and the UN country team to operate in. This has significant consequences on access and movement of staff in different parts of Iraq. Due to the restrictions that are in place, Iraqi interlocutors are often invited to meet on UN premises.
Here, the UNAMI Office of Political Affairs is meeting with religious leaders from the Yazidi, Christian, and Shabak communities. Both ethnic and religious minority communities have been targeted for attacks, violence, threats, harassment, and other forms of discrimination. With their homes destroyed and no jobs to go back to, many of them remain displaced and live in IDP camps, such as this Turkmen family.
From when we came, we've been treated well in the camp, but we have no money and we can't go back, and we have no home. I can't work because I have a severe back injury, and I don't even have the money for medical treatment.
Others, such as these two women, who were mothers and wives of alleged ISIL combatants, do not feel safe going back.
Far from going back, we don't even feel safe asking about the agricultural land we left behind, for fear that we might get accused of being ISIL supporters and get arrested. Even my mother can't visit me here in the camp, because she too might get accused of being an ISIL supporter.
While a lot of work needs to be done, and surely the path forward will not be easy, the next generation of Iraqis is engaged and committed to talking about the difficulties the country is facing in a clear-eyed, honest way. After ISIL's suppression of freedom of expression and the right to culture, young Iraqi filmmakers and artists have worked together to produce powerful short films on minorities and human rights.
There are a lot of reasons to be hopeful about the future, but the international community's engagement remains vital to make sure that Iraq stays on its current trajectory of greater stability and prosperity.